Hey everybody. So, here we go. I have talked about my favorite movies ever for a while, but now it's time. We're going to be looking at my all-time least favorite movies ever. And instead of it being a top 10 like usual, we're doing a top 20 again. Yep, a top 20. Remember how my last video where I said what my all-time favorite movies are was the top 20? Well, this one's going to be a top 22. Now, I'm not going to do another list about my favorite movies again because it hasn't really updated much, so I probably should just keep watching more films, but for now, I have not shared with you what my all-time least favorite films are. So, that's what we're doing. The top 20 worst movies I have seen. This video is going to talk about the worst movies from number 20 all the way to number 11, and then we'll do the next video where we look at the top 10, so we'll just do that. I've talked about many of these already before, so for most of these I won't say much, but for the ones I haven't talked about, I'll definitely get into my hatred for them. Anyway, you might be thinking, another part of you might think, why would I want to watch these movies? So, I'm going to tell you something. A majority of these movies on this list I've seen in the form of a movie review. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, that can't count, but from what movie reviews I've seen, there are people who watch a movie and when they review it, they go through the movie. Like they have a commentary through it, so they just go right through the movie. They comment through it, so you can really understand the premise and get the idea from their commentary. So, to my eyes, that is still watching a movie. And I only consider ones that are considered bad to rate based on the review of I watch. I do that because I'm lazy. Let's get started. Gentlemen of Holograms. Now, of course, I've talked about this movie before, so what else can I say? This movie is bad, and for plenty of great reasons. The movie sucks at being an adaptation of the cartoon, which not a lot of people remember, yet I somehow do. And unfortunately, this movie tries to take the classic story and bring it into a Gen Z style, which never works. Okay, it never works. This movie really does fail at trying to bring the cartoon to life, while also failing at just being a movie. It's just that classic idea of, oh, I don't want to think I'm scared of being embarrassment, and it's just all that crap. Like, okay, even when you take away it being a terrible adaptation, it's nothing new. This movie just doesn't do a good job at being new or anything like that. It's weird that I choose to think about this movie, but I don't want to. So, after this, I should hopefully never have to talk about this stupid movie ever again. Same with Cats. Cats is a musical that was turned into a movie. This movie it's ugly, alright? I've already said it before. It's really ugly. We have big stars like Jason Derulo, Judi Dench, Taylor Swift, Ian McKellen, Rebel Wilson. It's just, why? Why? And, like, the movie doesn't at all achieve in actually being something interesting. The CGI of the cats are just ugly. That's really insane to look at. So I don't think anybody can watch this movie without cringing or just being terrified of how ridiculously ugly these cats look. I don't know why they went with that. It could have just done costumes. I mean, sure, it's not as expensive, but at least it's tolerable. Because just CGing everyone like this, it's just not pretty at all. The musical numbers don't really do much either. It's too much, alright? This movie just has too much that doesn't need to be in it. The first Neverending Story was okay. The second one was pretty mediocre. The third one, God help me. This one is now focusing on all these classic characters from the story coming to the real world or whatever. This movie doesn't really do anything that's too exciting from the others. Mostly because all the characters are dumbed down by a lot. You have Falcor, the brave one, now is stupid. You have Rockguy, who is all courageable, is also now stupid. And you have the main villain being played by a very young Jack Black. Yep, Jack Black's in this movie, and he's the villain. Yeah, you know now we like to think of Jack Black as a cool guy. Well, back then when he was still considered cool, he was not very fun. This movie's bad at it's just stupid, okay? That's the thing. All the stuff we remember from the first two movies is dumbed down. It's cheesy, lame, it's just not fun for anybody who's in the mood for a never-ending story. Okay, I haven't talked about this movie before. Pretty Got Fingered is a film that focuses on. Wait a minute, I have talked about it before. Well, why am I? I need to remember these better. Anyway, Tom Green is a comedy star who isn't necessarily that great, in my opinion. I mean, sure, there are people who like him, but for the most part, he's known for being unpredictable. And I know being unpredictable can make for funny moments, but the way he is at being unpredictable isn't fun. And shown best for this movie. This movie is mostly just him doing weird stuff like being gross or just ridiculously violent. It's all that stuff that you don't really want to expect from a movie. And I'm sorry, I just don't find anything he does in this funny. I find it annoying, obnoxious, and Tom Green just doesn't need this, okay? He deserves better. I feel like he could actually be funny if he just focused on more fun stuff instead of being gory and gross all the time. Oh god, this movie. Dr. Seuss is an amazing author from all of its children books. I grew up with some of them. The Grinch was the first to be turned into a movie, a live action, which wasn't that bad. I mean, Jim Carrey did pull it off well. It was nicely styled. But then we have The Cat in the Hat. And while this one was, I guess, somewhat nicely styled, look at the cat. He does not look pretty at all. This cat is now creepy, unfunny, poorly designed, and all of the other things are poorly done as well. Being unfaithful is bad enough, but the way this movie tries to make in some more mature humor as well as trying to keep on to that trending base is just not necessary at all. Okay, just don't do it. After this movie, there were no more live action films, thankfully, because I think this movie proved that you can't really do a live action Dr. Seuss film if all you're gonna do is terrible costume design and very uncanny humor. Now, it's weird to talk about this. I don't really think it's that bad when it comes to how much I want to criticize a Batman movie, but looking back, this movie is god awful. Batman is my all time favorite superhero, in case you didn't know, so having a Batman movie on my list of worst is just seems hard to think about. But unfortunately, it's true. Batman and Robin is terrible. This movie has George Clooney taking on the role of Batman, a role I really think he doesn't need to be in. And then there's people like Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Freeze, Mr. Freeze, which is cringy. You have Alicia Silverstone as a poorly put together Batwoman. You have Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, which doesn't seem like a bad portrayal, but the way this movie treats it is a problem. And you have a bunch of other weird stuff. Trying to go for a more cheesy comic approach can sometimes work, but for the sake of this movie, it just fails horribly. It's not funny, it's not fun, it's stupid, it's just so cringy. Oh, I've talked about this movie a lot before. I've already said enough. Son of the Mask. Jamie Kennedy, not a good role. Alan Cumming, not a good role. The way this movie was going, terribly. Being a kid's film instead of fun like Jim Carrey's version, no. So, yeah, I don't think I should say much. I hate this movie. You should if you've seen it too, but probably just don't watch it. If you're a fan of the first Mask, you're better off not watching this movie. Alright, well, here's one movie I definitely had to watch for the sake of a movie review. The Hoagie Loves was released as some sort of educational film. This movie was purely made to try and be that Sesame Street style on the big screen. So, when you're watching it in theaters, they're talking to you or asking you to do stupid stuff, and it's nothing of a fun story. The story is not something fun, it's just them talking to you and being all happy, dancing or whatever. And that is not something you deserve in a movie. Even on television, it's just too much. I mean, sure, it works nice, but when shows like Sesame Street do that in the sake of actually teaching you something, this movie's just trying to be as stupid as ever. Like, you don't actually learn from it. They just tell you to do stupid stuff, and nothing good comes out of it. And this movie actually has a bunch of celebrities involved. Yep, I know, a movie like this with celebrities, why? Why? But yes, Cloris Reachman, Christopher Lloyd, Carrie Elways, like, why are they in this movie? Okay, I've seen celebrities in weird roles, but this movie is just so poorly put together. You cannot have this kind of style on the big screen. In fact, you really can't have it at all. Like, you can't do this, okay? You gotta actually teach something. You can't just think you tell them to do stupid stuff that they'll learn better. That doesn't work. So, yeah. This movie is must to avoid. And here's another movie I was fond for. I've talked about the first Baby Geniuses film, so you know how terrible that film is. But let's go ahead and take a look at the second one. This sequel that just has to exist for some reason focuses on babies as spies. Yes, I am dead serious. The babies in this movie are spies. We have spies in this movie. So why do we have superhero babies now? Because why not? Because apparently being stupider will make for more fun. No, everything I said about the first Baby Geniuses applies here. Terrible CGI, lame jokes, the ridiculousness. You know it's bad, okay? Just looking at this, from looking at the poster, everyone knows this movie would suck. This is not something you can actually find good in at all. Like, seriously, if you like this movie, your style of humor is kind of not something I should think about. So, let me not drag too much about people's opinions, but man, this movie is just so. Oh, God. Alright, so while I have said in the past I don't necessarily watch anime as much, Avatar The Last Airbender is some exception. I mean, technically it was made in America, so it's not so much of an anime, but it does pay as an anime point, so I'll say something about it. What is considered to be the greatest cartoon of all time is now made as what is considered the worst adaptation of all time, The Last Airbender. It's not called Avatar The Last Airbender because, we have Avatar, the blue people crap. But this movie, it's been criticized a lot already. We all know the drill. The bad acting, the bad casting choices, the terrible effects, the poorly put together idea. This movie is just so uncanny. Making a live action Avatar movie would work if it was just directed better. And this movie was not directed in the way you want it. It's everything you do not want in an action movie. It's everything that you are trying to not get out of something of an action film. So if you're looking for some fun action, this is not the movie. It's a movie you must avoid if you are looking for any of that. You think those movies are bad? They are. But that was just the beginning. Next weekend, I'm going bigger. Yeah. I'm keeping up with this trend. We have more crappy movies to look at. I'm not done with this. I'm really gonna go down to the crappiest of the craps. Speaking of craps, I can't remember.